Okay. So good morning. It's so nice to actually talk with you in person because I have messaged you a few times just to be like, I love your stuff.
Yeah, it's great to finally chat in person.
Yes. So I'm so happy to have you here as well because my podcast really is focused on just like well-being as a whole. So I do talk a lot about cannabis or plant medicine and using non-toxic products or just women's empowerment or things that we go through. And I really loved your brand from when I first started seeing it. I seen a couple of your products, and then my friend Charlene, who does the Jedi jewelry, had partnered with you. And I was like, oh my God, like two awesome women doing something awesome. And then I really started like buying more of your stuff. And actually, I bought a bunch like a month or so ago, and I have it in a bin labeled gifts. So when we were moving, my partner Fabian's like, what's this big bin of heavy stuff? And I'm like, oh, it's just like BeechWood Wildness products I'm gifting. We have to
Awesome.
move this whole bin with us. So
Oh no.
yeah, so maybe if you can just kind of start off by telling us like your passion and how it led you in your story to making these products and just like your philosophy and who you are as a whole.
Yeah, sure. So I'll kind of give the condensed version of it, but
Yeah.
I guess like ever since like I stopped eating red meat when I was 7, I was always kind of conscious of what I ate and really into nutrition. Um, and then when I went on to university, I decided to study business because I thought it would open up a lot of opportunity for me. And then I entered the corporate world, but somewhere in the corporate world, I just felt like it wasn't a good fit for me. So I started looking for an area that I figured I could excel in.
Hmm.
Um, and at the same time, I was having a lot of skin issues. I was living in Calgary at the time. My skin was breaking out like crazy. Um, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I started diving into holistic nutrition and really looking into what exactly was in my products, what it was doing to my body. I learned I had a hormonal imbalance. So I did a lot of um, natural healing for that. And when I noticed how much it impacted me and made a positive change in my life, I fell in love with it uh, and signed up to take a holistic nutrition diploma. And that's how it all started, I guess. I eventually quit the corporate world to pursue something more into holistic health. And that's how BeechWood Wildness was born.
Oh, I love that. I feel like this is like a whole topic on itself of like quitting the corporate world and doing the
Yeah.
hurt work.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, sometimes people are like, "So what do you want to do for like a career?" And I'm like, "I'm good with just like doing what I'm doing and like sometimes it pays me money and sometimes I hope eventually it'll pay me money."
right. Yeah. And like for me, it was so different from what I was doing that I had to be okay with being misunderstood by family and friends for like quite a while. And like even now, like my business is 2 years old, and I think like people are finally understanding more of what I'm doing. But it was such a huge transition to what I was doing before for work that it took a while for me personally to figure out what exactly I'm doing. And now I'm at the point where I know this is the right fit for me, and I can just keep growing with that. So yeah.
That is a beautiful topic because I find I struggle with that as well, like being misunderstood or feeling like you need to like answer people's questions in a certain way to almost please them and almost like they're belittling you whether they're meaning to or not, and then you're like kind of taking it personally and it's just like it's really like tough on the heart. So I'm really happy you brought that up. I'm just like staying there for a minute because I feel like women in general feel like they have to talk about that. Whereas like if a man were to start a job, it's like, oh, he's an entrepreneur and doing this and that. But it's like if a woman is trying to do something that's out of the ordinary, it's almost like we need to explain why or how we think it's going to be beneficial or what that looks like. So can you maybe just give an example of like maybe a few things that people said, how you dealt with it, and now what it looks like now, just for anyone else that's going through this? If they're listening, they'll be able to be like, oh, okay, that is how I feel, and this is how I can implement or kind of think of things differently.
Yeah, I actually have so much to say about that.
Awesome. We got
Um,
time.
yeah, but I find that if women particularly, and like this happens for men too, but if we do something unconventional, then we feel like we have to explain ourselves because this society feels like there's a right way to live your life. And if you don't follow all this, like this direction, then what are you doing? So for me, I guess I started, I don't know, it's a tough thing to explain, but I guess when I first started my business, I didn't like to talk about it with friends and family because I like embarrassed is the wrong word, but it was just like, oh, like they'll just think it's like this do it yourself little craft side hustle. Or I always
Yes.
downplayed it. And like in my head, I'm like, why are you downplaying this? Like you're putting over like 80 hours a weekend of work. Um, so that's been a process for me. But I think the biggest thing is a confidence thing too. And
Hmm.
just you have to have the confidence and believe in what you're doing. And then once that comes, then people see that and you don't have to explain yourself so much. But yeah,
Beautiful.
I do agree with the whole when females start something versus males. Males, it just, I guess, society, just from what I observe accepts it more. And then for females, they're like, oh, great, she has a little side hustle. What
Yes.
does she also do? Um,
Yes.
so yeah, and maybe that's just my perspective, and maybe I'm just reading too into it, and I just need to grow in confidence that way. But that's just what I observed, and I know one example that really stuck to me and like made me angry, but I'm choosing to channel this anger into motivation. But
Yay.
when I first started my business, I was also serving, and I liked serving because I made more money serving than I would in other positions. So
Yes.
I was loving it. I was able to balance serving and my business, and I was just starting my business. And I just remember a gentleman asking my background and then looked me in the eye and asked, when don't you think it's time to get a real job? So it's just, again, society, like we think there's real jobs and not real jobs. So it really, like, what does it matter what people do? If they're able to make a living and they're not hurting anybody, then let
Yes.
do your thing. So I guess that's like a little of my experience with it. And yeah, I hope maybe if anything, just to educate people more on how you don't have to take a direct route. Like once you leave high school, like you can explore a lot of different things and see what you like and then make your own way. But yeah.
Hmm. How did you decide on the name for your business?
Um, I grew up in a very rural village called Beechwood, and
Okay.
I love, like, I spent my childhood outside, and it just, when I think of Beechwood, like, that's home to me. So I wanted my business to have roots and meaning to it. So I thought Beechwood was great. And then I played around with like BeechWood Wellness. When I first thought I would do more nutrition versus skincare. But then I wanted something different, and I wanted something that later on my business could evolve into more things, not just nutrition, not just skincare. So I thought maybe wildness, because that's how I feel like my
Mhm.
lifestyle is, like going in all these directions, and it can be wild at times, but it's my wild. So
And we like to be free.
Yeah, and that just felt fitting to me. So
Yes.
yeah, that's how that came about.
Beautiful. What does your skincare routine look like now versus like what it was like before? Because for me, I was actually just talking with my friend last week. So when I was a teenager and growing up, I actually rarely had acne, but I used to get a lot of cold sores. So I was like, the universe must
Mm.
have been like, Julianne, you get a lot of cold sores, so we'll give you a break on having acne. But then as I've gotten older, I find in my 20s, and I'm sure it's more of a hormonal thing, and I got off birth control and then went through supplements and a routine with my natural path. So it's slowly starting to even out, but I still notice that now I'll have more acne than I did as a teenager. So my skincare routine is changing because I am more aware of it, but I'm also more aware of like stress or what's going on in my body or what am I eating, like too much sugar or this and that. So I know my skincare routine has changed a lot, say within even the last 10 years. So maybe you can just share with us knowing what you know now, what it used to look like before to what you do now.
Yeah, so I guess in high school I did have breakouts. My skin has always been breakout prone, and it wasn't until I started studying holistic nutrition that I realized it was just hormones. And hormones can be anywhere from a prescription to food. Like some food it has hormones in it, or water, unfortunately, can have hormones in it. So for me, in high school, I didn't even consider like thinking, why am I breaking out? I'm just like, get this breakout off my skin ASAP. So I would use really harsh products with chemicals in them that would just strip away my skin. And what I wasn't understanding, that when you do that and you strip away a layer of your skin, basically, your body actually produces more oil to compensate for that. So you're
I did
not,
not know this.
yeah, your body, it's
I'm like,
not
what's going on?
you're not helping your body by stripping the oil. Your body's gonna just start getting more and more oily. So then what I now, and even before I started making products, I started oil cleansing. And what oil cleansing does, it removes excess oil, but it still hydrates your skin. So it just helps you find that healthy balance. And I use oils to cleanse that are really similar to the oil that your body produces.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that works for me now. But really, like my skincare, it's changed because I understand why I'm breaking out now. So if I'm having a few breakouts one week, I'm like, okay, I'm really stressed. I'm not sleeping enough. I'm having too much sugar, or
Mm-hmm.
um, maca root powder has transformed my skin. So anyone with
Wow.
hormonal skin, I definitely recommend that. That just helps balance the hormones as well.
Yeah.
And really, other than that, like a good probiotic too. But my skincare isn't just uh, products I put on my skin anymore. It's what I eat and supplements, and just a more holistic approach to it, I guess.
Awesome. I also got from my naturopath like a paper on the oil cleansing, and it was like a couple of different oils to pair with. I think it was castor oil
Yeah.
and the process of doing that because I've never done that. And I've been vegan this last year. So I noticed a lot of changes in my skin because I was really eliminating a lot of things.
Yeah.
And but then also trying to balance, well, what do I still need? And a lot of the products I was using was like I thought that they were healthy or natural or non-toxic, and then when you actually start looking at them or the process they go through, they're not actually that good. So my naturopath pointed that out. She was like, well, your body inside is starting to become so much more healthy that you're putting this stuff on your skin, and now it's actually starting to like kind of affect your liver because it's trying to detox so much. And I'm like, what? Like, you think you can trust these things?
Yeah.
So maybe you can, if you can, tell us like what oil cleansing is for anyone that has never done it. Maybe different oils we could try, and then also what products like you make that when you're making them, who you see they're kind of targeting for? Is it people who do have really dry skin or people that do have acne, or is it just for everyone in general?
Yeah. So first, I do want to mention that I'm glad you brought this point up, but a lot of you really have to watch when you buy natural products because the industry is unregulated. So anyone can say their product is natural.
And I don't think people know this because I didn't. I'm like,
No, it's so, well, you just want to, as a consumer, you want to feel like you can trust the company you're purchasing from, but there's just such a learning curve too. So I think education's really important. Just like, for example, my mother and I walked into a store and they were charging like $28 for a bar of soap, and I just couldn't get over it. And they're
oh
like,
my
oh, it's
God.
100% organic and natural. And I looked on the ingredients and it had fragrance. And I'm like, well, fragrance is one of the top allergens in the world, but it's in your soap. So yeah, so you really need to watch and learn how to read labels on that. So I'm glad your naturopath brought that up because yeah, your skin, that's what will happen. You'll go into
Mm-hmm.
detox mode and break out like crazy. But yeah, so oil cleansing, how I do it is I take a couple drops of my oil and I massage it on my face, and it removes dirt, makeup, excess oil. And then I spray a toner and wipe all of that off. And then I'll put a couple more drops on as an all day moisturizer or overnight treatment. Um, Oil cleansing is great really for all skin types where it's not making your skin oily. You just need to watch what oil is in it. So for
Okay.
example, if I had more dry skin, or in the winter, if I have more dry skin than I do oily, I would probably use more richer oils like an avocado oil. But if my skin is really oily in general, I would use jojoba or sweet almond oil because those oils are the most similar to the oil your body produces.
Okay.
And then coconut oil, I find like on my skin personally is very drying. So it's very depends on the individual, and that's why it's just really important to try these oils. So I recommend if you're first starting oil cleansing to see if you like it, go purchase some cold pressed grapeseed oil and try it on your face. It's a really inexpensive oil, and your body will metabolize any excess oil from it. So I think that's a great starting point for people. The oil I currently make, the blend's a mixture of kind of all oils because I tried to target just combination skin in general, not so
Mm-hmm.
much dry, not so much oily. Where I'm a small business, I wanted just to start with just a general oil. Hopefully in the new year, I'm going to do more specialized products. So I'll have one oil catered to oily prone, another oil catered to drier skin, and go from there. But yeah, a lot of it is just figuring out what oil works best for your skin
Mm-hmm.
type.
And then with the cleansing, it's you put it on and then you use a hot cloth, is it?
Yeah, so there's a
Okay.
few different ways. Some people don't use water at all. They just use a toner after
Okay.
putting the oil on and take a cotton pad or reusable cloth and just wipe
Okay.
off. Some people splash water and wipe off and then put more oil on after. So it's how you like to cleanse your face.
Okay. I love your body whip. I couldn't believe I'm like, this is actually a whip that I'm putting
Yeah.
on and it's turning into like this awesome oil body wonderfulness. I'm like, because when it said whip, I'm like, oh, it's probably just like the way it's in the jar or something. And then I open them, I'm like, but it's actually like a whip. Like it's so luxurious. Like I'm still blown away. That's like what my majority thing is in the tub to give to people is this whip. Cause I'm like, my mind's blown. I hope people open it and they feel like their mind's blown. Like
I
and they
feel
love it. So I love that. And I love the face oil. And my mom, who she was having a lot of skin issues too, which she never had, and she's going to be 59 next year, was just like, I don't know what is going on with my skin. And I gave her that to try. And she was like, can you just buy me all that for Christmas?
Oh,
Because she grew up, in an era where it was like Olay and Noxzema, and it was more the fragrance, and it was more of like the commercials that are saying this is for your skin. But then, as you go through life and your hormones and all those things, as we know, that isn't always what you need. So she's realized too that she just needs an oil, like simple, good to go. And there's a couple products of yours that I haven't tried. So maybe you can just tell us some that you have and some options for people. And also, you make these at your house, is it? Or do you have somewhere that you make them?
Well, when I first started, I was actually mass producing at my parents' because they have a huge, lot bigger space than me, and no cats there. So my cat is actually, her tail is
I
fake.
see it.
And if you heard a loud bang earlier, she was attacking my Christmas tree.
Okay,
So
I did hear a loud bang. I'm like, maybe she has a dog.
no, my dog is an angel. It's my cat. But yeah, so I'm mass producing at their place. I now have a studio downtown Fredericton where I'll be making everything. But yeah, I offer a few different things. I do want to make a lot of changes because I just see my business going in another direction and I want to rebrand a bit. But right now I basically have cleansing grains, a cleansing oil. So for people who like to oil cleanse, I have an exfoliant, so a coffee scrub, a face steam, a herbal face steam, which is one of my favorite products to use, but I need to educate people more on the benefits of that. So I'm hoping to talk a little bit more about that in the new year and just how face steams can benefit people. And then I have bath salts, bath tea, body oils, whips, shower bombs. So mostly I focused on body, like dry skincare and face care for now. But yeah, there's a few changes I want to make and maybe go more specialized in a few items. And I'd really like to work on my packaging a bit, plastic free, and that sort of stuff. So yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We actually just watched the documentary on Netflix about the plastic in the oceans. And I was like, I'm not buying water bottles ever. And my stepdaughter's like watching that. She just turned 14 in November. She's like watching that lit something inside of me. And I was like, that's so cool, because she hasn't really, like, there's things she likes and she has her own personality, but she hasn't found like that passion where it's like you feel something, you're just like, I need to go with this, or I need to talk about this. Like, and that's hers now.
That's awesome.
Where she's like throwing her phone. She's like, I want to get rid of this phone case. I'm going to get that one that's like the biodegradable stuff made out of recycling and like no straws. And I'm like, this is so cool. Like to find that passion. So I'm changing the bottles or reusing them in a certain way kind of also hits like a whole different target audience, which is amazing.
Yeah. And to me, it's more, I don't necessarily want to bring on to my business what I think will sell the most. I want to bring on what I truly believe in, because I feel like then my passion will stay and then I'll continue to love the business. I won't be doing something I'm not 100% in, and I want to always believe in it. So for me, like, it's a work in progress for me. Like, I use a lot of mason jars for, instead of Tupperware now, reusable bags, but there's still so much I could do to be less wasteful. And I'd like my business to show that too, just to learn as we grow, but make those small changes, because it is a huge problem. And I think people don't intend to be very wasteful, but it's just easy and convenient. But when you watch but when you watch those documentaries on Netflix, like, that's scary stuff and that's real life. So we should all be a little more conscious about that. And it's awesome that your stepdaughter's seeing that at such a young age. So a younger generation
Mm-hmm.
goes to those documentaries is great.
Yeah, and I find like for you and me, or like the, what would you call them? Like the change makers or the movement flow pushers.
Yeah.
It's like the things that we're doing are almost so far advanced that it takes a longer time. I don't want to say like to be successful, but maybe to like get to the point that people see what you're doing. So it kind of all balances out, because like anyone in the cannabis industry would know, like we're talking about like this heals this and this, and people are like, don't even talk to me about it because I don't want to go to jail. So
Stigma.
but it's like, well,
Yeah.
we're just talking about a plant here. So even about like skincare or the plastic bottles, like just trying to tell people like, well, actually this oil is actually going to be better for your skin. And they're just like, why would I put oil on oily skin when I have this product I just spent $80 on? Obviously that's going to do better. And it's like, it's almost like you just have to keep going and trusting that eventually other people are going to like awaken and become more aware, and they'll remember you and what you're doing and be like, thank goodness there's a resource now that I can go to. Because I even find now, like even when I walk into a health food store, I'm like, which product do I even, but now I'm like, if I see yours, I'm like, just go there. Like, so it's good when we just keep doing what we're doing and trusting that eventually that people will also see and be drawn to it and be happy that there's this platform and resource for them. So yeah, just really, like you said, doing these things and trusting that it's right, but it's also going to continue to be your passion because you're doing the right thing. So that was a great quote.
Yeah, and like to me, I knew when I started my business, the biggest thing would be education. When you're a trailblazer in an industry,
Mm-hmm.
that's your biggest hurdle, but that can be a great thing for your business. Like just to remain consistent, natural holistic health and cannabis, like and this wellness industry, it's only going to get bigger because people are going back to the basics because they're finally understanding that's what's working.
Mm-hmm.
um, so if these wellness entrepreneurs in areas that haven't been as progressive as other areas and these wellness trends coming, if they remain consistent, they're going to be the go-tos. And yeah, like for me, yeah, it is a struggle because people can buy a $5 lotion at Walmart rather than buy one of my handmade body whips that are more expensive. But my job is to educate people on what works for them, what's good for their bodies, and it's an investment. And I like a challenge. So for me, this new year, I'm hoping to educate more and just go from there. Just trust that it's going to keep growing and I'm putting good out there. So if people want to invest in it, it's great. If they find something else that works better for them, like the most important thing is to be educated in what you're buying as a consumer and making the decisions right for you. That's what matters. So
Yes. How do you feel in this process so far of going from an idea or a calling to now being like this entrepreneur? Like, what did you find that you were able to navigate certain things easier than other things? Were there resources that you found really useful? Are there still things that you're like looking for answers as an entrepreneur to make things more smooth? Because I feel like that happens a lot, like with
yeah.
women in general. It's like, well, there's this thing that I want to do and I'm doing it, and then it starts turning into like a legit business, and then you're like, do I know all the things I need to do is to make this a business? Am I spending more than I should be? Like, do I need a lawyer for this thing or not? Like, because I feel like that happens to me. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't like go to business school or anything, but like living it's like the best school. So yeah, just share with us some of your insights.
Yeah, like this, it has been so tough. I found that it's like for me personally too, where I was kind of like a maker and an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't fit like the tech world and the tech startups, but I wanted it to be a legit business that I could scale. So figuring out how to make it legal and legit, and am I following all these regulations, and am I getting the proper licenses? That
Yes.
was a huge, huge learning curve for me that I'm still learning. And honestly, a lot of it I just Googled because I couldn't afford a mentor. Um,
Mm-hmm.
which I would have loved, but my mentors were Tony Robbins, Maria Forleo. I just constantly have a
Mine
podcast.
as well.
Yeah, I have a podcast playing at all times, or I have YouTube videos, or I read. One of my favorite business strategy books is Blue Ocean Strategy, which is amazing. It just kind of
I'm
talks
gonna
about,
put that in my notes.
yeah, I
I'm gonna read
definitely
that.
recommend it because it's great for people working in a saturated market too, because it talks about how your competition's irrelevant because you're bringing something completely different to the industry. I love it. I recommend that to everyone. But yeah, I'm still learning things. Like there's so much, and there wasn't really a place to find all these resources. So that's an opportunity for someone too. And maybe later on, I'm able to create a digital product that just helps other
Ooh.
entrepreneurs like kind of have a little pathway to go on when they want to start a venture, because it's been 2 years and I'm still trying to figure some things out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. I know. Thank goodness for Google. Like one of my favorite
I don't
podcasters,
know.
she actually says in her thing, she's like, I made a multi-million-dollar business with a high school diploma and a Google search bar.
Yeah, and Google is free.
Right? Like how
Like,
even?
yeah, and when I said like I couldn't afford a mentor, it wasn't a priority to me. I'm not going to spend $1,000 on a mentor when I can get resources for free. It just takes more time to find them.
Yes.
But yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a real like navigation journey. I was also listening to a different podcast and it was like also kind of turned into like this controversial episode that this person was doing because it was talking about how like I don't want to say like going to school is a waste of time, but it was about how going to school is turning you into an employee. Like they
Mhm.
aren't teaching you in junior high and high school about like how to be a boss or how to be an employer or how to be a founder or a company or this and that. Like they're like niching you into being an employee. So it's like you've had like 18 or more years of this mental training of being an employee and these are the skills I've learned to serve you. But it's like a different way of service when you can also learn how to be the employee and like the boss. So it's like this whole other however many years it takes to learn how to fit that role yourself. It's very, yeah, so a digital course, that'd be amazing because sometimes there are courses, but there's like so much to it. And I feel like we're the same in the sense of like, can you just break it down and tell me the
Yeah,
steps and then I can do them?
yeah, in understandable language.
Yes, that's what I found. I'm like, I feel like everything sometimes I read, like, I'm like, a lawyer must have wrote that because that's not English. Like,
Mhm. Yeah,
even if it's a
no,
business thing, I'm like, this isn't English. I don't understand what's going on here. So yeah, having that process and also even creating something for someone to have in their back like pocket when they're looking to buy products of skincare or food or anything of what to look for and what not to get. Like having that little like back pocket manual, I think
oh,
could be a
yes.
great resource I could see you creating for people.
That's actually a great idea. Like how to read a label and the dirty dozen and cosmetics.
Yes. I'm like, that was coming to me when we were talking. I was like, I
Yeah,
feel
that
like
is
you
a
could
good
do that.
idea.
It would be very successful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I could really see like you doing that, and people would just like trust obviously what you have to say. So that'd be extremely helpful.
Yeah. Well, that was something like I could have really used from the start. So that's what I
Mhm.
try to base things on too. Like, would I have found this helpful when I was starting my research? And but yeah, a good point about school, because I did go to business school and it did help me. It built a foundation and an understanding of like certain things, but at the same time, a lot of what I applied to my business was self-taught from a lot of different business books, and experience is the big thing. Like, you have to jump into something and deal with day-to-day things, and whatever's thrown at you, Google it. um,
Yes.
and that's how I learn anyway. Everyone learns differently. So but yeah, it's not I my first job, I was an entrepreneur when I was 12, so I loved
Aw.
it from the start. But in high school, when you're trying to figure out what to do after high school, entrepreneurship wasn't really an option. I never considered it an option. So it would be really cool if in the future they kind of push that a little bit more for those personalities who do like to take on something on their own, or hard
Yes.
time working for people, or
Yes. Like, how do you use Excel documents
yeah, that's
to
what
make a spreadsheet? How would you go
yeah,
about a business plan and
yeah.
like all those things?
Or how to get funding if
Yes.
you are doing a startup that requires funding, or yeah.
What, like, where can people find your products? Can they buy them online? Will it be at your studio in Fredericton? Where can people find you?
Well, I just recently pulled from wholesale, so
Mm-hmm.
that change came just because it felt right. I want to get to know my customers and have a relationship with them. I want to make a lot of changes, so it's tough to stay in stores right now. And I want to make sure they're fresh. So right now they're available on my website and at my studio on Saturdays.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and my studio, the address and the studio hours are all on the website as well. So yeah, that's the plan right now. Just sell directly to customers, and then maybe in the future I'll be able to do wholesale again. But for this time, I'm just kind of taking a step back and redirecting. So
Great. And you have a blog on your website too, I've noticed.
yes, I am just starting to get into the blogging. Trying to make that more of a priority, just because I think education is really important, and I think it might help people just figure out what exactly they want to do, or to understand more of natural beauty. So, yeah, hoping to grow that a bit more.
And your website is beechwoodwildness.com,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
And you're on Instagram under the same name?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just so people
And
can find you in social media world.
yeah, yeah. I do have a Twitter I never use. I don't even know the password, so that's irrelevant, but you might find me on there.
I know. I'm the same. I have a Twitter account and I'm like, it's like so simple. Just type a couple sentences, done. But I'm like, I'm so drawn to Instagram because I love it's like bright picture. You can
Yeah,
read the thing, scroll on. Like there's no
yeah,
drama, but you can
no,
also like really share what you want to share. So I'm the
yeah.
same. I'm like, I'm all about Instagram.
Oh, me too. But you can actually share your Instagram to your Twitter. I just haven't even taken that step.
Oh,
So
see, I didn't even know this.
yeah, like just
I'm
like
gonna have
you
to
can
Google this.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, Instagram and just on the blog mostly is where you'll find me hanging out.
Great. Any final words or tips for people or words of wisdom, anything you'd like to share?
I think just kind of words of wisdom would be do you find out what works for you. If there's stigma around it, or if there's strong opinions around it, that's irrelevant. You do your research, you find what works for your body, and be open minded about everything, and see where that takes you, because that's how I think you really heal as a person and find what works for you. And that's what self care is. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. And I am a loyal customer. And
Well, thank
thank
you for
you for
having
making these products because they are really making a change in people's lives. So it's not just skincare. It's like really making a change, but also raising awareness and making education and like creating like such a different movement. So thank you so much for your dedication over these 2 years and continuing, and so much for just meeting with me today. And I'm sure I'll see you in Fredericton at some point.
I hope so. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast. This is the first podcast I've ever done. So,
Oh, great.
yeah.
Thank you. We'll talk again soon.
Okay, sounds great.
Have a
Enjoy
great rest of your day.
the Bye.
Bye.